Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, of course, because I'm the one talking about it. So I'm going to pick all my favorite topics, but I'm also going to pick some of your favorite topics. So today I want to talk about dendrites. And it sounds more boring than it really is, but I want to share why dendrites are so important. So as you all know, I'm a certified behavioral data scientist, so much of what I do, actually everything that I do and all of the coaching and strategies that I suggest to my clients, my friends, family, and even myself are rooted very much in behavioral data science, data science, backed for sure with data because I want to see the data on it. Sorry, I'm still healing from a little cut like I shared the last time with you guys. I make my own hair and skin oil because my skin is so dry. So I make my own, and the bottles that I just started using, the lid is so very sharp. So this bad boy was razor sharp and it cut me on both fingers, and this one is taking longer to heal. So anyway, I'm going to give the definition first without going into my own definition of what dendrites are, because I want to make sure that you guys have a non-Nini definition of dendrites. So dendrites are branch-like extensions of a neuron that receive signals from other neurons, playing a crucial role in information processing and neuronal communication by integrating inputs and transmitting them towards the cell body. So in short, layman terms, dendrites are crucial in a lot of things, but for all intents and purposes for this conversation, dendrites are crucial in how we receive and perceive information, crucial in how we adapt to problem solving. And so I'm a mom of three sons. I'm a boy mom. And I just noticed in my own personal life and how I decided to parent, like I just thought, like most of us believe, I'm going to do it so different. I'm going to parent this way and that way. And I'm going to teach my children, all the things I never knew. Yes, we should do that. But then we also decide I'm going to give them all the things I never had. That's good too. I'm going to allow them to do a lot of the things that I was never allowed to do. Okay, maybe that works, maybe not. I don't play the mommy card or the parenting card. Do what you do, boo, because I'm going to do the same when it comes to my children. Let me raise mine and I'll let you raise yours. But for dendrites, the reason why this is so important is because dendrites are crucial in how we learn to problem solve. Because the way dendrites are structured in the brain, they respond rapidly. And I actually have a study that I also made sure that I took note of. But while I'm pulling that up, dendrites are what help us adapt to situations and exercise or strengthen, I'll say, and or strengthen our ability to problem solve on the fly. They help us to rapidly receive and retain information to say, all right, I feel like I knew how that was supposed to go, but now I think I know something different. I learned. It's called learning from experiences. And so oftentimes when we're parenting or even with people that we mentor, we want to solve the problems for everyone. We think I have all the answers. I know how to do this. Let me just jump in and do it myself. With my 10-year-old, I noticed that that's something that I was doing. And because my last two were homeschooled, when I decided to put them in traditional schooling, I will never forget the day that my youngest, his first teacher that he ever had, this lady probably spent, because when they're doing the pre-K thing, it's like, I think they're there for like an hour. I feel like by the time you drop them off and come home and read 2 emails, it's time to go back and pick them up. And so I already wasn't very happy about the experience because I wasn't sure that I wanted them to be in traditional schooling, but I felt like socially, it could be a good trade-off. And the teacher pulls me to the side and she introduced herself again. And she said, I just wanted to tell you that your son has something called, he's experiencing or he's demonstrating something called learned helplessness. And I was like, not being very humble. I'll say that. I was kind, but I wasn't very humble. And so my response to her was more like, so what is why does it feel like my hat is lopsided? Yes, I'm very particular about the things that I'm particular about. But anyway, I was like, well, who are you I didn't ask you for an observation, and I certainly didn't ask for feedback on your observation, but thank you. That was what my eyes were saying, but I was just like, thank you. Let me tell you that almost every day when I am engaging with my youngest, I can hear her voice and, respecting and understanding what this woman was trying to explain to me, which was, you're not allowing your son to problem solve. He is not developing and strengthening his dendrites. That's essentially what she was telling me. How she was able to see that was because he was amongst peers who were doing that. And she could see that my son was doing it not just very differently, because yes, we do all learn differently. We problem solve differently. But she could see that there was no, I won't say no ability, but that he almost was at a loss for simple problem solving. And so now that he's 10, I reflect on that conversation. I mean, even though it wasn't a conversation, because it was just more like her talking and me like, but I reflect on that very often with humility now, because this woman saw something and she was telling me that, again, you need to let your son solve some problems. Let him do some simple things on his own, like tying his shoes without being prompted to do so all the time, or you prompting to, you tie that one and I'll tie this one because we're in a rush. And a lot of that I realize is because I was always in a rush. And so what happens in parenting, or what happens in business when you're supervising staff, or you're coaching or mentoring and you have your mentees, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to solve these problems for you. Or just for ourselves, we immediately go to crisis mode before we engage in general problem solving. Not everything has to be a crisis. Some things you're just like, oh, this is going to require some problem solving. And we rob our brains of that opportunity when we jump straight from an issue being presented to labeling it now a problem. And then we skip the problem solving model and jump straight to hair on fire. So I want to read this really quick. I swear it's really short. And it kind of goes into why dendrites are, not just why they're important, but a study that was conducted. Where is this doggone thing? Okay. A study that was conducted. And so it says, a new study in mice shows the brain physically links memories of events that occur close in time in dendrites, branch-like projections extending from neurons. That's explaining in short what it is. When one memory forms, affected dendrites are primed to capture new information arriving within the next few hours. I'm going to read that last part again. Affected dendrites are primed to capture new information arriving within the next few hours. So what that's saying is that the brain is equipped, not only, like I said in the previous video, the brain is equipped to predict, problem solve. It's equipped to get us in situations. Yes, it does do that sometimes, and out of situations. So if we now know that the more these dendrites are primed, it happens rapidly. So the brain is adjusting to this information. It's like, give me more. It helps us to grow, to form and maintain new dendrites. It's saying, I want a better, understanding of this situation so that I can apply this to, the cells, and thus support this body, this being, in solving a problem that is probably going to come up again. I mean, because let's be honest, how often does a human really do one thing and never, ever do it again? I mean, I don't know how perfect you all are, but for me, it took me some time to learn from certain, I don't believe in mistakes. My dad was not a mistake-driven person. He would just say, we don't make mistakes. We simply make decisions and we own them. And that path is something that we learn from, and then we move on. We take what we learn and we bring it to a sense of relevance and, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, for this conversation, dendrites are there to say, you did it this way the last time and this worked. So now let's do this. It stores all of that information and it strengthens the mind. So it's designed, our brain can do this. We can do it. And actually, dendrites are forming most rapidly in those young, most formative years, like usually around 2 years old. So it's telling you that this is what the brain wants to do. Yet we have so many things around us. And I think we place things around us that rob us of the opportunity because we're so afraid of us having to solve problems on our own because it's such a icky, dirty process, a messy process. It looks very messy. But also we don't allow others to do it because, as I mentioned in my previous video, the social constructs around the words issue and problem is such an icky word. It's like, oh my gosh, no, I don't ever want my children to have to solve a problem. God forbid. And then that's where you see people who are fighting the grave because they know their children are not equipped to solve problems. So then the other part of that, though, that I always like to discuss with my clients when we're discussing business, because it's important, like I said in the previous videos, it's important to have this conversation. I don't like to just do, everyone has their niche. For me, absolutely, it's behavioral science, mental health. So I'm going to approach every client situation to determine first, that's the primary, that's our initial conversation. I want to know where you are mentally and emotionally so that I know what resources to pull into the session to support you. So I want to know how you problem solve, how you troubleshoot, how you view the world around you, how you view yourself, how do you view finances. Believe it or not, that plays a big part in your mental health, a big, big part. So now when you get those questions answered, coming around to the dendrite conversation again, if we know that dendrites help us to grow and solve problems, and if we're avoiding that opportunity, that means that it's like a muscle. If you're not working it, it's not going to grow. It's not going to grow. So a lot of people look at solving problems like how people, like athletes or people who go to the gym, look at building muscle. It's the same way. They're like, oh, another opportunity to solve a problem. All right, another opportunity to build dendrites. Another opportunity to build that muscle. So the dendrites then support our nervous system because remember the way that we respond to issues or problems, it's all rooted in how we're perceiving it to begin with. So now imagine if you're never growing these dendrites. So you're going in with no muscle, no strength, no problem solving ability because you haven't strengthened it for whatever reason, because maybe someone didn't allow you to, or you chose not to. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm only a certified behavioral data scientist. That's I know my limitations. So staying focused. For whatever reason, the dendrites were not developed or strengthened or formed. And now you find yourself at a loss for being able to do this in the most critical times. When you're having to address your finances, now it becomes a crisis. Now this is leading to mental health crisis. This is leading to housing crisis, which circles back to mental health crisis. It's leading to economic and workforce crises. So in essence, it's a whole calamity. It's a whole calamity or a cluster, what, but we won't call that here because, my dad taught me not to curse in public, so I won't do that. Rest in peace, Daddy. But we know what it leads to, one of those clusters. So why not do our central nervous system a favor and embrace every opportunity to solve a problem? Just say, wow, this, I'm not expecting you to do it because I don't do it this way. Oh, wow, a big problem. This will be a great opportunity to develop my dendrites. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is once you get over your hair being on fire, because you're human, embrace that moment, then say, I'm going to grow from this. Not only am I going to grow, but my brain is going to appreciate this. And this is going to be an experience that will rapidly develop good memories so that if I'm willing, I can access this problem-solving file. And my brain will thank me for this. So let's not run from solving problems. Let's not run from the opportunity to build dendrites. Because a lot of y'all be running. All right? So I wanted to keep that really short, and we'll go into part 2. I think part 2 could go deeper into some examples of what it looks like when the dendrites are weak, what it looks like when the crises pop up, and I'm not above the experiences that my clients bring to me. That's why I'm able to get down on the mat with them and, eye to eye and share different tactics and strategies, because I too have built many dendrites and I have also avoided the opportunity to strengthen dendrites. So I feel like I am quite the good example in both scenarios. And so that's why I can say to you, don't run from your problems. Don't encourage your clients to run from their problems. And please, oh please, oh please, Do not jump in and solve every little problem right away for your children, because you're doing what? Robbing them of the opportunity to grow their brain. And you don't want a small-brained child, now do you? I think that's all for today. Talk to you next time. And if you like what you heard here, I would love for you to subscribe and comment below and come back. Because what am I going to do if you don't come back? Please come back. See you next time. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Donald Hebb.